Hello, Professor Toybox here. I've got Rocket with me, and we're back in Gravity Falls to continue the build exercise for this toy box. My goal today is to build the town and add many of the remaining buildings. This is going to be a longer episode because I won't be doing one on Wednesday. Now, most of the buildings that I'm using are only available in 3.0, and you need to have the Toy Box Speedway game to unlock them. If you don't have that game, I've got a link to Amazon US on my blog, and at the time I'm recording this, it's still available for a very reasonable price. I think it's like $8 or something. I'll include the link in the video description. I'm not going to tell you how to unlock all of these buildings because I need to focus on my build. And if you want to know how to unlock them, go to infinityguru.com. That site tells you how to unlock everything in all the playsets. Now we'll start here at the Mystery Shack, and we'll work our way down the road. Once again, here's the map that I'm using to lay out the toy box. The Mystery Shack is in the upper left quadrant. The road zigzags before we come to our first building at location 6, which is Greasy's Diner. So we're going to start here by placing some buildings along the road, and plants. We're going to start with this Fantasy Terrain 1. I'm going to stick this as close as I can get to that, which is right there. And I think we can go ahead and style that right now. I've got my Gravity Falls terrain power disc down on the base, so I have that option here in my list. I'll go ahead and set that to be the theme for this piece. And I'm just going to line the road here with some trees to make this pretty easy to follow along with. Let's go ahead and style this. Rather than try to guess exactly where I put Greasy's Diner, if I just build along here with the trees that I had put down before, I think that will be sufficient to get us back to where I need to be. And I believe that's where I had it. Okay, and then the next one, sit right here, and we'll style that. Because styling these pieces doesn't change the bounding box around it and cause us to bump into things that we shouldn't bump into. So this should be okay. This piece, though, does change the bounding box, and so we'll have to be careful about this one. For right now, I'm just going to apply the theme. I'm not going to set it as my theme. So we'll just apply. And we're just kind of building along the trees down the road here. Alright, and then we come over here, and let's start down over here on this corner. So there's a seam in the road here, and I'm going to place this plant right here like that. We'll flip this one around and put that right here. Oops, wrong way. Go ahead and flip another piece around like that. Yeah. And then another small tree right about here. And I'm being careful to place these where I had placed them originally in my toy box, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you're just kind of lining the trees. You don't want to make a solid wall of trees because that would be kind of boring. But this gets us to Greasy's Diner. And here's a screenshot of this location from the TV show. You can see there's a sidewalk that runs along the front of it with some cars parked out front, and it sits in a small clearing on the side of the road surrounded by pine trees. And so as we look at this, we're going to go ahead and put in the sidewalk first, I think. That would be the best move. So we'll come up to the basic blocks drawer and go left. And I like using these small floor pieces for the sidewalk. I think that just looks really good when we do that. And we're going to line this up about half a block back from that plant, like that. And let me just double check this here. Yeah, like that. And we'll go ahead and style this before we put any more down. So if we come to the right, we'll go to the concrete, and I'll set that to be my theme. There we go. And now we're going to put a row of these along here. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And 2 more. Yeah. So just before that terrain seam. So there's the sidewalk in front of Greasy's diner. And let's come over here, and I'm going to go ahead and extend this down to the street. And we're going to carry this over this way a little bit further. We're going to put down 6 of them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And a couple of buildings are going to go there in a minute based on what we see on the map. All right, so let's go ahead and fill in a few more plants around here for the clearing around Greasy's diner. And we'll start with this one. I'm going to put this here like this. Oops. And then we're going to put one back here across from the sidewalk, like that. And I'm going to put this one back here like this. Put another one of these over here, like that. There. So now we have kind of a little clearing there where the diner will sit. And now for the diner itself, if we come up to building set group 7, this is where the Gravity Falls buildings are. And if we go to the right, we find Greasy's diner. So we're going to park that right in here off the sidewalk. And I want to place this about like that. So lined up with these sidewalk pieces. And then we'll go ahead and put the stump next to it like we saw in the screenshot. And actually that's the gnome's stump. That's not the one I want. That's too big. I believe the one we need is under the plants drawer, and I think it's this piece. So we'll put this right off the end of the diner like this. Yeah, that's the stump. I'll apply that. And then we'll go ahead and rotate this around with the rocks like that. That lines up pretty well with what we see in the screenshot. And then, just to kind of complete it, we'll come up to the decorations drawer, and we'll put a couple of cars parked out front. So let's put a green one over here, like this. And we'll put a blue one next to it. Alright, so there's Greasy's diner. Now on the map, we also had a couple of other buildings sitting here. And so for that, I'm just going to come up to Building Sets Group 2, and I'm not going to do anything really special with these. We're just going to drop in 2 buildings. We'll put in the white one and a red brick one next to that. So there we go. And eventually the cemetery will go back over here, but we're not going to get to that today. All right. Now our next location is the Dusk to Dawn convenience store, and I've chosen to place this store across the street from these buildings, so it's going to sit right here on this side of the road instead of the location shown on the map that I showed you earlier. Here's a screenshot of this store from the TV series. Excuse me. You can see it's surrounded by a chain link fence, which isn't something we have in Disney Infinity, so we're going to have to improvise for that. There's also a parking lot and a tall, stumpy tree in the back left. And so to do this, let's go ahead and pick up these sidewalk pieces again. We're going to come right across the street and put 6 down on this side. Like that. And that just lines up with these pieces on the other side. Just double check. Yeah, let's do one more. So 7 of them total. Alright, and then we're going to go to the next larger size, and we need to put in the parking lot. So I'll drop one of those down, and we're going to change the texture on this. And actually, before we do that, it might be quicker, because we know we're going to need sidewalk over here as well. So let's go ahead and put the sidewalk down, oops, over here. Not sure what happened there. Just kind of jumped on me. But we're going to go ahead and put this around the perimeter of this street. I haven't shown you that screenshot yet, but take my word for it, we'll need it. And this will save us a little bit of time. Oops. And then back down the other side. This is a little bit tedious, but it's alright. And I like using these blocks versus the sidewalk piece in the decorations drawer because these are a little bit smaller. Those others are like 4 tiles in size, and they're just too big. And because they're decorations, they also take up a little extra memory. Alright, so now let's go ahead and style this. And I'm going to set the theme on this one to be Concrete 2. I'll set that to be my theme. We're going to build a parking lot around the Dusk to Dawn store. And we can leave the middle open because the building is going to be sitting there anyway. So we don't need to fill that hole. Alright, so there's our parking lot. And the Dusk to Dawn store again is up under Building Sets Group 7. And if we go to the right, this is where we find that in the drawers. We want to put it with the storefront out like this. I'm going to line this up a little bit towards the back of the lot here. So just like that. Alright, now we don't have the chain link fence. The closest thing I could find that would work is in the Main Street USA buildings. If we come over to the right, have to go a little ways. We find these green railings. And so I'm going to put these in instead. And you can choose to put these in or not. It's completely up to you. And I can't flick the thing to put these in, so I'll have to do these manually. That little flick trick doesn't always work with all of the pieces. But there, now we have a little bit of a fence kind of indicating that it's closed, and I'm not going to run that all the way around the perimeter because that would just take up too much memory, and I'd rather use the memory for other things. But as I said, you can even leave this off if you really want to. And then we'll go ahead and put some more trees around the perimeter of this, just to kind of finish it off a little bit. So let's come back and pick up some of these trees. I'm going to stick it out just a little far that way. You don't want to line everything up perfectly, because that would be kind of boring. So something like that. And then over on this side, put in a nice little barrier over here. And I don't have anything quite like that big, tall, half-dead tree that we saw in the screenshot. I think there might be a building piece somewhere that's similar, a plant or something we could put in, but I think this tall tree will be sufficient for what we need. And we'll go ahead and stop at that point. So there's our Dusk to Dawn store. And I like how that turned out. I think the location of this just makes more sense in the toy box than it did on the original location in the map, because I really like having those canyons down there to finish off that edge of the toy box. Alright, so next, let's go ahead and come back to, got more sidewalk pieces to put in. So we're going to go ahead and pick this up. We're going to have to restyle it here in a moment, but I'm going to key off of the edge of this piece back here. And we're going to go one block over. We're going to come down here and drop 6 of these after we style it. So we'll put it back to concrete 1 basically, and I'll set that to be the theme. And that takes us right to the corner of the curve here. And then back up to building sets group 2, and we'll just go ahead and put in a couple of these. Like that. And up under building sets, or buildings rather, we have these pieces from the Incredibles set. And we can go ahead and put these on the front there, just for kind of a nice finishing edge on those buildings. Alright, so there we have that. Now we come to the downtown area. And this area looks different depending on which episode you're watching. In this shot, from the Hand That Rocks the Mabel episode, there are only a few buildings. But in a later episode, we see this shot. I originally built the toy box using the first shot, but I've decided to make a last-minute change, and so I'm going to go with the second one in this build. So we've already placed the sidewalk for this. Let's go ahead, and we're going to be passing building sets group 7 on the way down anyway. So we'll go ahead and put in the chapel. That sits right here on the end of the sidewalk like that. And we have the founder's statue. We'll put that right in the middle of the manhole cover here. The middle of that section of the road. And then we've got the buildings. And for these buildings, let's start on this side of the street. We're going to come down to building sets group 4 and go right. And for a lot of these, I'm going to use this large suburban home piece. And I want to put this one right here on the corner. We're going to put another one right here. And then we're going to turn this and do a half a block. Turn it again and put another half block piece down here, which takes us to the end of that road. And I'm going to go ahead and try to style these so that they match what we see in the screenshot there. So for this one, let's go ahead and make this purple. I'll apply that. And in the tourist trap towns like this, you often find different colored buildings and things, so I think it's kind of fun to add a little bit of color to this. And let's go ahead and put a roof on this piece as well. That matches the screenshot there. And we'll style that to be the blue siding as well. The next one over, for this one we're going to use the red hacienda, which actually isn't red at all. And then this one we'll use the brick. And then once again we'll come up to buildings. We'll put some of these facades on the front. So that one goes with that pretty well. We'll put this one on the front of that. We'll put this one on the front of this building. And we'll put the front door on this one. So there's that side of the road. That looks pretty good. Alright, now back to this building. We're going to start here on this corner once again. And let me pull up my picture here. We want to make sure the window is on this side, and it is. So we'll go ahead and put that down. Followed by this building. Oops, wrong way. Followed by another one of these. And this time we want the building out, the window out on the other side. Like that. And we could actually put a little bit of space in between these. So let's pull that one out there. Let's move this one over half a block, because they're kind of spaced a little bit apart in those screenshots. And then for this one, we'll style this again to be the red hacienda. And this one, not that it really matters, but we'll use the blue hacienda, which doesn't really look blue at all. I guess the windows are blue. Here we are. And then once again, some building fronts. So we'll come back up to buildings. Let's use this one for the front of this building. We'll use this one for the front of that one. Oops. And this one for the front of this one. Alright, so there's our downtown area. And I think that looks better than what I had there originally. I like that. Okay, next up is the tent of telepathy. And I'm going to deviate again from the map that I showed earlier, which had it over by the entrance of the Mystery Shack, and I'm going to put it over right in this area. And here's a screenshot of the tent from the TV show. You can see the orientation of the sign with respect to the tent and the cars parked on the right. It doesn't show where the road is, but I chose to believe it's behind the cars on the right so that the sign is visible from both directions on the street. And so as we go ahead and place this, let's go ahead and start with some plants. Sorry for the delay, I was pulling up my screenshot. I'm doing this a little bit out of order from what I took my pictures at. So this piece we're going to stick right in here about like this. And let's go ahead and style it. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate it, pick it up and turn it so that the Mystery Shack sign is pointing that direction. Then we'll grab Fantasy Terrain Corner 1, and we're going to put this as close as we could get to that tree and about a full block off the back of the buildings. So just like that. We'll put this one right up behind it like so. And this one like that. I'm kind of starting to frame in the lot here a little bit for it. And let's start from this end and see if we can meet it halfway here. So this one we want to put here, lined up with that terrain seam and the road seam, as you see. And then the next one I think we need is this piece, and I'm going to line this up just like that, and we'll have to style this. I am not going to set this to be my theme, because as you may recall, last time the bounding box on that dips a little bit lower than the terrain, so we can't actually sit that down on the ground without causing problems. And then the next one we're going to put in here off the back of it, like about like that. And we'll leave a little bit of a gap here that the player can run through. So we'll put that right up, actually just hanging a little bit over the edge of that terrain seam. So like that. And then this one then will sit right up next to it like so. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, I think this is the wrong piece. Let me delete that. What I really want is this, because this gives us a bit thicker selection of trees there to kind of frame in the lot. All right, and then we'll come up to the decorations drawer and go right, and I'm looking for the white picket fence pieces. And you didn't see these in the screenshot that I showed earlier, but I did see something like this in another picture that I saw online. And so that's why I want to put these in here. Not really necessary, but I just like the way it looks. So if we put these in about like that, then we can put another set in here, and we can run a set down, and the flick trick isn't going to work with this. We'll run a row of these down like so. All right, and then back up to building sets group 7, and the tent of telepathy sign. We're going to put that right up here in front of these trees like that. And for Gideon's tent in the screenshot, it was oriented like this with respect to the sign. So I'm going to put this as close as I can get to these trees back here, and then all the way to the right as close as I can get there. So it's going to sit in here just like that. And if you're on a system that can handle the memory, you might consider putting a few cars parked along here from the decorations drawer, but I'm not going to do that. So there is the tent of telepathy, and that sits in there really nice. Okay, next up is the bait shop, and this is going to sit out over here. And here's a screenshot of this location from the TV show. The building looks a lot like one of the western buildings from the Lone Ranger playset, so I'm going to use that. There's also a dock jutting out into the lake in front of the building. You'll need the dock pieces from the Pirates of the Caribbean playset for that. You can't really see this building on the map that I showed earlier, so here's the high-resolution map from the 3DS game that shows where the bait shop is located. And so as we come back here again, let me grab my screenshot here for this section. So we're going to come down to building sets group 4 and go left. That gets us to these dock pieces. And I'm going to use this short dock with support beams. We're going to put it right up in the middle of this terrain block, just like this. And I'm going to put 3 of them out here, like that. So there's our dock. And then up under the building set, if we go to the left, we'll find the Lone Ranger buildings. And there's one here that matches it pretty well. That's this one. It's the Undertaker's building. And we're going to line this up with the corner of the building with the edge of the dock, like that. And that looks pretty close to what we had in the screenshots, so I like that. All right, the final building we're going to put in today will be Gideon's Family Factory from the Hand That Rocks the Mabel episode. And as you can see, it sits up on the edge of a cliff, and from Mabel and Gideon's point of view, as they sit up on top of the roof, it overlooks the town below. So I've chosen to place this building up here on this cliff because we have our ramp going up here, and this just makes perfect sense to put this right up here. And so for this building, we're going to come down. We don't really have anything like that, so we're going to have to build it ourselves. And once again, we'll go to Building Sets Group 4, and we have those customizable buildings here, and we're already using this one in other places there in town, so this doesn't use up any extra memory. I'm going to put the window on the back side, and we're going to put this up against this terrain seam about right here. So we'll drop that. And then let's go ahead and set the theme on it. And for this one, we're going to use the pink wood. I'll set that to be the theme because we're going to be dropping a number of these. And this isn't going to look exactly like the building in the screenshot because I just can't do that, but I think I can do something that doesn't look too bad. Because given the roof pieces that we have, we kind of have to finagle this a little bit. So we're going to use those to plug in there, and then we can sit this piece up here on the roof like that. So it was a flat roof on the other one, on the screenshot, but I don't really have a flat roof that works well here. So I think that's the best we can do. And we'll put the front door here on the side of it. And there is that building. That's all the buildings that I'm going to add to my toy box. I'm using all of the Gravity Falls buildings that Disney Infinity provides, and a few generic buildings for other key locations in the show. Next time, I'll build the cemetery and add in the rest of the plants, which will finish the build exercise for this toy box. Look for that episode next week on Monday, because I've got something else planned for Wednesday. Meanwhile, I hope you enjoyed my video today, or at least found it helpful for building Gravity Falls in your own toy box. If so, please hit the like button and leave a comment to let me know. Don't forget I've got links in the video description and on my blog to take you to the resources that you'll need in order to recreate what I've built today. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, and you like my toy box designs, just click my photo in the lower right corner, and then you'll never miss an episode. Take care.